Hey guys, this is Jamie and Callum from Ringsiders Wrestling, and this is Last Minute Wrestling Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode number 40 of the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast. As you may have noticed, we have a couple of different voices here today because I'm talking about today's guest host of this episode, of this milestone episode, are Jamie and Callum from Ringsiders Podcast, which is a podcast that I really recommend you to check out. They're mainly on YouTube. And they're going to interview me. I'm going to be the guest of my own show. So this is the first of a series of episodes that will be called To Be Frank. So if you want to know more about Frank, which is myself, Frank Mandolini from Italy, your host, you know, the same kind of shit that I talk every week, this is your chance to listen to that. But before we go, I must remind you that today's episode is brought to you by Romer Skincare. Based out of Chicago, Romer launched a work-from-home clean skincare line that covers all your skin needs with 3 easy-to-follow steps. Why you should check them out? Simple ingredients and effective results. A perfect upgrade if you're still washing your face with a bar of soap or that drugstore face wash. Right now, Romer Skincare is offering our Last Minute Wrestling Podcast listeners 50% off and a gift with your first purchase by using the code LISTENER15. That's code LISTENER15 on their website, which is romerskincare.com. Impress your partner and get happy skin. Not only I am joined this week by Jamie and Callum from Ringsiders, but as always I like to introduce to you another friend of mine, Tristan Lohan from the Tristan Loh Show. Take it away from here, Tristan.
Are you listening?
Hi, I'm Tristan, host of the Tristan Law Show, and you can listen to my podcast where you currently enjoy this one and at tristanlawshow.com. The unique part about the Tristan Law Show is I introduce you to the personalities in and out of the pro wrestling ring. And you don't have to be a pro wrestling fan to enjoy my podcast. Don't believe me? Well, after you finish listening to my pod brother, Frank Mandolini's Last Minute Wrestling Podcast, search for and listen to the Tristan Law Show. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll be waiting for you. Enjoy the episode.
Whoa. His music is great as always, I love it. Well, guys, without any more bullshittery, let's go straight to the interview with myself, Frank Mandolini, made by Jamie and Callum from Ringsiders Podcast.
Hey guys and girls, this is Jamie and Callum from Ringsiders Wrestling, and today we bring to you Frank Mandolini, the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast. Hello, Frank.
Thank you so much, guys. Hello. It's great to be a guest on my own podcast, and it's even greater to be interviewed by two of the best one ever to do that.
Dude, let's not go too far. Wait, the honor is all ours. The most professional podcaster on Twitter. I've said this before to you, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. You are absolutely fantastic, Frank. You have the best audio quality that I've heard in podcasting. And you are such a delight, and I'm thankful every day that you're part of the Twitter wrestling community.
Thanks. I'm there to fight the evil of Twitter with some positivity and some good quality content on there.
Quality content, Frank. You do a different point of view for your interviews. It's very rare that you get one that focuses on the business side of wrestling. And you get the interviews with people that you wouldn't normally get. And I think some of the best work you've done is like where you're discussing the business side of things. So what was it that actually made you want to do the business side of wrestling podcasts opposed to just interviewing about wrestling and the in-ring action?
Yeah, even before starting doing this podcast, I was really interested in how people assemble a wrestling show. Like for example, one of the last interviews that I had with Fabio Tornaghi from Rising Sun Pro Wrestling here in Italy. one of the main points was that not so many people actually own a wrestling ring. So especially in a place like Italy.
Yeah.
And so that was fascinating to me. Like, how can you make ends meet? Because it may cost thousands of euros, pounds, whatever, dollars, and to do that, probably, let's face it, especially when you start, it's not going to attract that many people.
No.
So I was fascinated by that, and I have to confess, I'm not a heavy podcast listener. And one of the few podcasts I used to listen, now I don't listen to that anymore, really, was Jim Cornette.
Mm.
And I found myself more intrigued, not by, I don't know, when it was like ranting about AEW or stuff like that. I was more intrigued about when he was talking business, like how much money an event drew and this kind of stuff.
Sure.
That was so cool to me, and that's why I realized, okay, I don't want to be another white guy reviewing Monday Night Raw. I mean, if you know what I mean, there's plenty of that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something different and create a niche for myself, because that's what they told you. That's what they tell you have to do in marketing, which is most of the time not true, if you ask me. But I wanted to try this out for myself, and nobody was talking about business. At the end of the day, I'm not only talking about business, of course. I cram in a lot of normal wrestling podcast interviews as well. But I try from time to time to maintain this kind of focus. And it's especially easy when you interview a wrestling promoter for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Well, you said that you wanted to focus on the business side of things. You do talk about other things as well, but some of your best interviews I've found have been with the wrestling promoters. Like you said, you did one recently with the promoter of Rising Sun based in Italy.
Yep.
That was a very interesting chat, not just because you gave us a shout out, but it was a really good interview. And you've found that you've kind of like got, you've risen to popularity with this promotion to the point that they actually might book you down the line. How has that come about, Frank? Because it seems like you're a bit of a celebrity in Italy.
Yeah, yes, I am indeed. No, to be honest, I have to tell you a big secret right now. Frank is not my real name. Actually, it's not my shoot name. I'm sorry. I should keep the kayfabe with you guys, but and it's not really common in Italy to alter your first name. It's something that Italian people really care about, more than your family name or surname. And for me to go from my shoot name, which is Francesco, to Frank, is something that I never imagined to do in my life. Actually, I actually always hated the name Frank, except for like Frank Sinatra and Frank Turner. But except those two guys, I never liked the name Frank. So when I decided to start this podcast, I needed something, because I know that Francesco is is difficult to pronounce for English audience, and I said, okay, well, I don't like it, but it sounds quite good, Frank Mandolini. Okay, fuck it, let's do this. And I went by it, and people went mental about it, literally mental. And they started. I have many friends of mine who are even colleagues at work and stuff like that. They every time I text them, they're like, "Oh, it's such an honor to talk with Frank Mandolini," because it has a nice ring to it.
It does.
And Fabio from Rising Sun. It was, well, not actually him. It was Luca De Pazzi, my first guest, an Italian wrestler in ICW in Scotland. And Luca De Pazzi was the first one who was literally crazy, no pun intended, because Pazzi means crazy. Sorry, I had to translate that. But okay, and And he was the first one to literally go nuts for this name. And I discovered later that he was texting everyone he knew within the Italian wrestling scene about me, about this Frank Mandolini. And Fabio from Rising Sun is the one that is completely off. I mean, from time to time, he sends me some like voicemail on WhatsApp or stuff like that, just saying Frank Mandolini. He's like so happy about it. He's so happy about it. That was true. We are literally talking about having Frank Mandolini debut on Rising Sun. That's not as a wrestler, of course.
If you did debut, would we see you as a manager, or would you be a general manager? You know, an authority figure. What would you want to do?
I see myself as a ring announcer, at least at the beginning.
Okay.
And then probably escalate quickly through the ranks to like become the face manager, like for example, like Teddy Long or this kind of very face, only to swerve, turn heel, and fuck up the baby face of the federation and become the evil general manager. That's how I see my route.
So you turn heel on Italy.
What? Sorry?
You turn heel on Italy.
Yeah. The Italian audience is gonna go mad about it.
I want to see Frank as the Vince McMahon of this company.
Yeah.
Evil Mr. McMahon, except for it's McMandolini. Right?
McMandolini, yeah.
Hey, that's good. It's got a ring to it.
And by the way, it's a great name because I love the fact now that I've got a friend called Frank because it's a great, strong, good name. You know, I like it. You know, it's Frank. Callum's like, I'm speaking to Frank. Fucking great name. You stick with Frank.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm sticking with it. That's literally the name that I'm starting using, even with my friends at the moment.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Me and Callum, we can't go into details, but we have a friend who, you know, we've got friends who don't have, you know, who have shoot names and fake names, don't we, Callum? But we can't really go into that. But,
yeah.
It's another day. Speaking of your interviews, then, because obviously we've talked about speaking to the promoters. So you did tweet the list of Frank, and you had a list of people you wanted to speak to.
Yeah.
Now, one of those guys, you've ticked one off that list. Tell us about RVD.
Yeah, Rob Van Dam. I'm sorry for the people who are not seeing this, but yeah, I did the Rob Van Dam gesture.
You have to.
And in my entire wrestling fandom, let's say, I haven't been really a fan of specific wrestlers, except probably three main exceptions. One is the man that shall not be named. The other one is the other one grew on me very lately, and is Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
More because of a personal reason than not what he actually did in the ring, especially when he was in WWE. And the other one is Rob Van Dam. Those are literally the only three person I can say I was a fan, like totally forgetting that I'm looking at a spectacle, at a show, and treat it as if that was real, and marking out for real when those guys won. And also let me add another thing. I don't have many pieces of wrestling merchandise and stuff like that. I really don't. I have literally like 3 wrestling DVDs. One of them is the guy that shall not be named. The other one is Bret Hart, and the other one is Rob Van Dam.
Yeah.
And so basically, that was literally a super marking out moment for me. I was shaking. I never. I've been this for more than 10 years now. Only lately I became a podcaster, but I've been a journalist on written papers, and I never had problems. I don't know, very important actors, singers, opera dancers, whatever. I never had a problem. Politicians, important politicians, I had a chance to interview. I literally never had a problem with that. I was never nervous. I didn't give a fuck, basically. That wasn't like that with Rob Van Dam. I was so nervous at the beginning, and he was so cool because well, of course he's cool, but I mean, I think he saw that. I think he saw that, and he wanted to make me feel at ease with the situation. And I think he did it really quickly at the beginning of the interview. Then the audio went off for a minute, for an entire minute. Skype froze, and I was like, "Oh my fucking god, what?" Like, now this is the only time that happened to me during wrestling interviews.
Yeah.
For an entire minute, I couldn't hear anything. I was just this like fuzzing image of Rob Van Dam. And after you can't hear that because of course I edited that out of the final cut. But after this final minute, when I was really desperate, I heard him saying, "You should see your face," and he was laughing at me, basically. That was I was like the happiest in my entire life when I heard that, because the audio came back and the video as well. So, and he was so professional. He basically answered again to the same question. So the end result is kind of flawless. I don't think people can tell that this has been recorded in two different cuts.
Yeah, I don't recall hearing a cut in the episode.
No. It was there were many cuts, but this one was a massive one. And from that point onwards, I said, okay, that's the worst thing that could happen. And I was so relieved of that. And it was, as I think I tweeted that out as well. That was more than anything, more than something that made me happy as a fan. It was a learning experience. Mm-hmm. Because when you have to deal with somebody who's been doing that at that level for 30 years now, he knew how to space things. He knew how to phrase his sentences. He knew when he had to hit and when he could like be like more serious, more fun. It was people just think of Rob Van Dam just this stoned guy who used to wrestle in ECW, but it's not like that. He really is a performer and a world-class entertainer. And if you're interviewing this kind of personalities, like not only wrestling, I think that applies to everything, basically, like famous musicians, actors, whatever. You have to step up your game. You have to be at their level. And that's so fucking hard to do. I learned that it was so hard to keep up with him. And I'm forever thankful that he gave me this opportunity, because he decided to do that. Because people often ask me, like, how in the blue hell did I reach Rob Van Dam? I didn't. He did. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any contact with I don't think he has a manager, and I didn't have any email to write to or any kind of contact. I just tweeted out a couple of times, "Oh, that would be cool to interview you," but
you know, a tweet, didn't he?
Yeah, he replied me. He replied twice. Like the first time, I think I had joined Twitter like 3 weeks prior to that, and I don't know. Maybe I had like 70 followers or stuff like that, and he retweeted me to something that I wrote and was like, "Oh fuck, okay." And then he replied, and I was just like, oh, it would be cool to interview Rob Van Dam, and I tagged him. And he decided to do that, but after that he went silent, radio silent, and I didn't have any chance to contact him. So I didn't want to brag too much about this thing, because of course you haven't. I don't know if that's a saying in English. You haven't hooked the fish or stuff like that. And I went radio silent. Yes, and I think he didn't contact me like for a week or something like that. Then one morning, when I was minding my own business and doing other stuff, I received this DM on Twitter. It was Rob Van Dam. Okay. He said, and he simply said, we can do this anytime except Tuesdays.
That's so cool. Like
that's what he said. But
imagine.
I've met Rob Van Dam. He came to a show a few years ago, and he is just a super nice guy. You know, he's friendly. He put his arm around me, and he's such a cool guy. And there's proof right there for you. I mean, for him to reach back out to you shows you what a guy he is.
Yeah, that's it. And if you go to his official website, there is nowhere where to like an email or a contact form or stuff. There's nothing. So there's no way to contact him. He has to be the one that chooses you. And I took that as a compliment, of course.
Callum, we've got to go through Frank to get RVD now, then, haven't we?
Yeah.
But yeah, Frank, when you posted that you'd spoken to Rob Van Dam, I've never been more happy for somebody getting an interview with a wrestler than you getting Rob Van Dam, because usually when we get one, I'm excited for us, but I was more excited for you getting Rob Van Dam than most of ours. And I was like, 'cause I knew it was something you'd really been wanting to do, and you'd done that list of Frank, and you finally got to take off Rob Van Dam. So that was a huge moment for you, and it sounds like you learned a lot from that interview.
Yeah.
You said every interview can be different. It depends who you're speaking to. You can have some interviews which flow really well. It's just like a normal conversation. Some you have to do quite a lot of work with, to like keep the conversation going. It sounds like with Rob Van Dam, it was just the perfect storm. He was professional. He knew how to ask questions.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you learned a lot from it.
Yeah, I did actually. And if there is, well, of course there are many takeaways I have from that interview alone. One of which is something that you may not have noticed, because it's something that is much more personal for me. I've always been really shy all my life. Maybe you can't tell that, but I've always been really, really shy. I still am from time to time, but I've always tried to fight back this shyness, and probably this is one of the reasons I decided to become a journalist, because you have to interview people that you don't know and create a contact out of the blue, and that's of course not an easy task for a shy person, and so most of the time I'm able to overcome this shyness. But one thing that I don't normally do is being extra confident in myself. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense.
No.
It maybe look like that I'm confident, but inside I don't feel confident.
Yeah.
In a weird way, it taught me that. It taught me how to be really confident of what you can do, of your abilities, and this kind of stuff. And I think I'm a person that really is really good at judging himself. I mean, I have a pretty strong opinion on me. I know my weaknesses. I know my strengths, and Thank you, Frank. Terrific interview. Oh, thank you, Frank. You're kind and handsome. Next week on the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast, we're gonna have our first comic book artist / wrestler. I'm talking about the animal Bob Iger from Canada, and he's going to present his space wrestling comic book called Mother Trucker. Thank you for listening. Remember to leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, and spread the word. To make sure we keep our content going, you can buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/forward LMW become a Patreon backer at patreon.com/forward LMW or donate at good old PayPal, paypal.me/forward LMW. You can find the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast all over the platforms, on the official website, which is lmwpodcast.com, and on the portal bodyslam.net. Remember to follow us on Twitter at LMW Podcast and on Facebook at facebook.com/forward LMW Podcast. I've been Frank Mandolini, and you stay safe.